Well, wherever you are in the world, it's going to rain from time to time, but is it supposed to rain inside the car? Probably not, but sometimes in these Range Rover Sports, it does. So let's have a look today at how we can fix that. Hi team. Range Rover Sports and Land Rover Discoveries with sunroofs are notorious for having minor or major leaks, and you can get some water coming into the hood lining, dripping out through your interior light, or maybe your carpets are just a little musty smelling, or maybe just a little bit damp when you hop in there, but there doesn't appear to be any leaks. Well, there are a number of reasons why this happens. So let's look at how the system is constructed and what you can do without spending $1,000 to fix it. Let's go. Before we do anything, we really need to look at how this is constructed. If you have a look here, we've got a flat edge that runs right around the pressing in the roof for the sunroof. As you notice, it hasn't got a lip on it anywhere where that can actually seal down. The sealing of the sunroof against the bodywork is really totally reliant on this surface being pretty flat, and it's also relying on this seal being soft enough and pliable enough to fit in there and not allow any water to get through. The engineers, knowing the cars flex and there's always going to be a little bit of movement there, and often the pressings are not going to be 100% perfect, have allowed for a gutter right around and even over in here around the inside. And if you have a look there in the corner, you can see a drain hole. And that drain hole has drain lines that run down the front and rear pillars of the car. Part one of the exercise is to clean out the drains. The drains come in from each corner and run down each column. When I first did that, I tried to get a piece of stiff wire and push it down, but it got jammed in the corner somewhere down here and I couldn't move it any further. So I went the opposite way and I got a bit of electrical wire and I pushed it down, but it was just too soft and it sort of hit something part way and then it just all jammed up in there. The Goldilocks solution, I found something that was sort of halfway between the two. I think this is like a bit of clothesline wire or something. It's about a 4mm steel wire cable. And I put a bit of tape around the end because I didn't want to push it down inside the drain and end up like jagging one of the wires on the inside and damaging it. It's fairly lightweight. It's a bit like what you'd put in your irrigation system in your garden. It's easy enough just to push this down into the hole and just gently pushing it down and down and down, and you can sort of twist it a little bit, because what's happened is if there's silt build up in here, the silt over years has just ended up blocking something inside it. You've got to have more than about a couple of meters, because by the time you get from here to here, that's about 300, another meter down to the bottom, and then in behind the firewall, probably another 300. You know, you want to have a little bit at the end so you've got something that you can twist around a little bit. The idea was then just push that down, keep pushing it down. Got to be a little bit careful at the bottom because this is like a plastic tube that runs all the way down until it gets to the firewall, and in the firewall it's a piece of rubber connection that goes through the firewall. Now that rubber connection can perish over time, and we'll talk about that in part two. The idea is that if you push down and you get to that point and you push it too hard, you'll end up splitting it. If it's perished and old anyway, it's probably going to have to be replaced, but you don't want to try and do that ahead of time. I've pushed that down. I've put that up and down a few times, and then with my magically one I prepared earlier, pour a bit of water down into the channel. Is it getting away? Well, that is getting away. Just got to be careful. I don't want to pour it down inside the dashboard. And that is slowly seeping out. That is working. There you can see our drain clearing out through the bottom. In my case, that wasn't enough. The next thing that I had to look at was the seal on the edge of the glass on the sunroof. That's what we'll do in part 3 of this video. Inside here, I've pulled the trim off so you can see where it goes, and there's our drain pipe there running all the way down and disappearing down in behind the dashboard. After the drain goes down, it disappears in behind this panel here. If we pop this panel off, I can't get a great view into there, but if you have a look up into here, you can see that there is a rubber elbow then that evacuates the water to the outside of the car. So where does that come out? That comes out in behind here, and that's where it drops to the ground. That little rubber elbow is the main reason why you'll often get dampness in the footwell. Every time that little rubber elbow perishes and you end up with cracks in it and water can come back into the car, or it actually breaks off at the neck as it goes through the bodywork to that little outside area. If you're noticing that the floors are damp, often it's not the roof leaking at all, it's the fact the water is getting away, but it's getting down to here and that rubber is perished and it's allowing the water to run down the firewall into the carpet. You can easily buy a replacement for this drain with the rubber elbow on it online. They're not really that expensive. The issue really is being able to get the whole thing out from top to bottom, and I know people have struggled with that. What you can do is to buy the whole thing, cut the pipe above the elbow and put a joiner in there, rather than taking the whole pipe out from top to bottom, as it's usually the rubber elbow that is the issue, not the pipe. It's pretty easy to see where that one's coming through. The thing is, if the drains were working, that's fine, but I doubt it can clear that much on a really heavy rainy day. Look, there's a little bit coming up and along here as well. There was a few drips there. There's another one up in here. That seal is definitely gone. The first time I noticed it on mine, it was dripping out of the bottom of the hood lining just around this point here. The channel is up in here. Obviously the water was overflowing that, running down into this section here and dripping out. I've cleaned out my channels up in there, and I've cleaned out the drain pipes, but I've still got a water leak. I have to assume it's going to be the seal. There's not really a lot to this. We have to take this piece of rubber out here. That hides 2 torque screws in behind that, and then we'll undo those torque screws and then we'll gently pop it out through the top. That's the task for this morning. I'll get into it right now. That sits in there. Looks like it's got a little channel that's sitting in the top there. There you go. I've never done this particular job before. That was pretty easy. I don't even know whether I have to actually take that all the way off. But me being me, if I leave it on, let's have a look. Okay. There we go. Okay. If I left it on, I'll be fighting with it the whole time. Now we've got that off, we've got 2 Torx bolts in here and here down, and I've got to take those out, one on each side, and then pop that up. As it turns out, it is a T25 Torx. And these aren't very deep. From what I can see, they're just holding in there. There we go. once I get this one out, it's going to drop down. I assume we're pushing up and out, but at the end of the day, I take it we've got to be really careful. I've also got a roof rack there that I need to clear as well. That seems to be moving up and out okay. Sort of gripping on the other side. There it is. Oh, God, don't want to scratch the roof. Get this out, get a new seal on. Now, it's not particularly heavy. That seal, oh yeah, you can see where it's sort of gone. I've got a flat spot there. It's feeling a bit furry, and take that off, clean it up. You can see here, there's the join. What I might do is mark the join so I end up in the join in the same place as I did before. Don't know whether it's critical, but might as well do it anyway. There's the join and the seal right there. All my white markers aren't working, but I'm sure this will work. Just pop a little bit of tape there and mark that. There we go. There's this little piece here, pretty much fits in a groove under the glass. Yeah, it's a bit of crap coming off that. Yeah, it's just deteriorated, that's all. Okay, we'll pop that away. You can see the groove that locks into there. I want to give that a little bit of a clean out around there. Doesn't look too bad, a bit crusty in that corner. Give that a bit of a clean out. Don't want to use any harsh solvents on there because that's like rubber on rubber. I want to make sure that I get it cleaned out, but it's not too bad. Bit of mess maybe. Go. All done. Get that back in the groove. I've got to find the join, which looks like to be there. To make sure there's not two. There's my starting point, and there's my join. Okay, you can just see that there. I know that that little groove is the glass side groove, and this is the groove that's going into the channel. So I want to start at this point here. Haven't got a lot of light here, but anyway. And I just know, can I just push it in? I don't know. How does it go? Oh, look at that, just pushes in. The thing is, I don't want to work my way around and stretch because I get to the other end, it could be saggy. I think it makes sense that I'll take it around, see if I can push that into here. Yeah, okay, that goes in. Bring it around there, push it into there. Just work my way so that I get this all in place first. Okay, I want to just try. Make sure I can get that sort of all in, all the way around. There's a groove there and that there. at that, smooth. Smooth as smooth. Yeah. Can feel it going in. But here I had to push up from the bottom on the other side. Everything feels good. No lumps or bumps. It's the same on all these corners. Yeah, you can see it now in that corner. That's sitting out. Got it. There, popped it in. It's looking good. I'm just going to drop this in. I'm going to bring it up and get it flush all the way around. Once I get my little bolts in, now that I've got each of those in, I assume I'm just going to have to try and push that up and get that as flush as I can with the top. I can't push it up any further than that. Let's assume that I've got to try and get that glass flush. Spot on. Held it back. High. Now we get the other one on, and then we have to test that is in the right spot. The last thing we have to do is to reset this into its new position. I've got to open it first. It's not going to open. Hang on. Here we go. Let that open. I'm going to close it. That's saying it's too tight. So if I push that and hold it for 5 seconds. I'm going to push that and hold it for 5 seconds. Push that and hold it for 5 seconds again. Hopefully that's set. I'll run some water on it and let's have a look, see if we've still got a drip. Well, as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Even though it does look like it's about to rain, I'm going to speed up the process and make sure this is working. And remember, you're far more capable than you think you are.
I was watching that.